How to make more of these? Now to put it all back. Let's try one of Dad's scrapers. Carbon? Nah. Yeah, try this one. Well, that's enough of that. Let's start making a mess. in the drill press. And that is how you do a small production run of the greatest general purpose woodworking mallet I've ever come across. And that's not just me toting my own horns, because this is my design. I did a production run of mallets as a fundraiser for a woodworking school I'd opened up a long time ago. And I tried general designs that were out there, and I did made a couple hundred of them back then, out of all different kinds of material: pecan, walnut, all kind, mesquite. I learned quite a bit during that process. And then after the school was up and I needed to raise funds to keep it going, I started doing production runs of mallets and selling them out of material that I went and harvested. Bodark. In fact, you could see me making this very mallet on my channel, 10 years ago, right there. And since then, every time I do a production run, I always do another video when we discuss design elements. And my design has progressed a little bit from this tie. It's a little bit more rounded, a little bit different curve here. I've adjusted the placement of the high point on the handle and the reason for these dimensions quite a bit. I've readjusted the slope on the inside, that kind of stuff, and the curvature right here. And I'll explain why on those in a little bit, because that is one of the things that makes this such a great all-around general purpose mallet. But for some reason, because I did so many production runs in bodark, I just got in my head that bodark was really the only material I should ever make and sell. That's kind of what I tied my brand to, at least with mallets, and that's just being stupid. The problem with bodark is I have to go harvest the tree. I have to process the tree, get it back to my workshop, finish processing it for drying, stick it up on the rack for a couple years almost. And I'm not fully drying it in those 2-year periods, but I'm getting it dry enough to work so it works as a mallet. A mallet doesn't have to be 100% dry. In fact, this one right here that I made so long ago was really wet, which is why it dented a little bit over the years at the very beginning, but over the years it really hasn't dented too much more. But they've been making mallets out of all different kinds of material out there. I think some of the most popular are hickory. I don't know why walnut is a popular mallet material, because I found it kind of soft, and definitely you don't want to use mesquite because the short grains, they will literally snap in half. But hard maple is a really popular version, and I have a lot of experience turning hard maple in my production work, so I decided to do that. Now, the design of these is designed so that you do not have to hold it. So you can use this all day long and your muscles don't get stuck. That's the reason why this shape. It's not designed to fit right in that recess of your palm. It's designed to fit a little bit in the front, so it kind of dovetails the web of your hand up against that. So you just kind of use that, and that ball becomes a pivot point that the mallet rotates around. You get a lot of control without having to use your wrist and your muscles a lot. Whereas if you have a straight handle, you really have to grip it. The reason why you have that little tail piece is you can actually let it slide. If it slides a little bit, it'll catch. It just won't go flying. The other reason for the shape, I found that when my production woodworking, if I put this slight curve on it, I don't know the physics of it, but it kind of makes the sweet spot that you hit. So when you're hitting a mallet, you don't get any vibration coming back. it kind of broadens it out. It softens it. And if you look at my mallet, you can see my sweet spot is right there. That's where all the dents are. There are dents around and stuff like that, but the main dents are right at that spot. And by a sweet spot, any of y'all that do striking sports, golf, baseball, you know, if you hit it just right, you don't even feel the impact because of all the physics that's going around with it. Well, that slight curvature really improves that sweet spot. It also improves the way it feels when you're holding it different ways. Because I don't hold it like this very often. This is the main way I hold it. If I'm dovetailing and stuff like that, I can get a lot of material. Once again, I'm not having to grip it very hard. My pinky slits in that slot right here. My other 3 fingers right there coming through. If I'm doing really delicate works, I actually hold it here. The reason why we want it domed right there is that way I can kind of tap stuff, and that domed action, it doesn't slide that often. So if I'm letter carving and stuff like that, I can just kind of really light taps right here. Much more control than I have with this, because it's just a rotation of the wrist this way. Holding it this way, I kind of have to move my whole hand. Holding this way, I use my arm. So it's flexible. The only things I don't use this mallet for anymore are holdfasts, just because I call it a medium to medium heavy carving mallet, but even you have to put a lot of force in to sink a holdfast. That's exactly why I built this one, and I did a whole video on making it. I'll put that over there. And I've also done several other videos explaining all these little design features I have right here, the reasons why. Again, I am the worst YouTuber in terms of marketing my own material, because I make videos showing you exactly how I make them, the reason why I make them that way, and I encourage you to go out, make your own, because the process of making it is such a great learning experience. And then I ask you to buy one from me. Makes no sense whatsoever, but that's kind of how it's been working. The only other time I don't use this, and it works just fine for it, is heavy mortising. Something like 1 inch, the kind of mortises you probably should have drilled out to begin with. Well, the only reason is this 1 inch chisel right here has a new handle on it from Lee Valley. They sent it to me under warranty, because I split the old one trying to cut a 1 inch mortise. And I think it was because this is a round really focused the impact, and that caused the split. So on heavy mortises, you generally want to use a flat surface on your mallet, and that's why I made this mallet right here, is for my really heavy mortising. It's not overly heavy. This one is just kind of overkill for that kind of work. So those are the 3 mallets I use most often, and y'all have seen in my videos, 95% of the time, this one's sitting over on the corner of my workbench is ready to rock and roll. So if you like my videos, kind of pick up nice tips over here, and you want to help support me to make more of them, maybe consider going to my website. I'll put a link down below to a direct link to it, and picking one up on your own. The only process I have left to do is I will let the oil dry for a few days. I'm going to hit them on the buffing wheel to really shine them up. And the reason why I'm bringing them out now is I made a commitment to myself at the beginning of the year that I would slowly transition a portion of my production woodworking to items I can sell to y'all. It just seems to make more sense. Plus, the amount of toy stores are dwindling in this country, my main wholesale market. So I'm going to be reintroducing a lot of the products that have sold well in the past, like my mallets, my dovetail markers. I might even make the more traditional joinery mallets. Some of the hand planes I've done in the past, spoke shaves, those kinds of things, saws. I'll be bringing those out. And I have 2 new products I'm coming out that y'all have never seen before. I haven't seen any other people sell anything like it before. And if you were had a close eye, you might have seen a preview of one of them. On this particular run, I'm going to do a pre-sale version of it. Though, if you're one of the first dozen or so to get it, he'll be in the mail right away. I'll do a pre-sale for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe until the first week of the next month. And then I'm just going to head down and use all that money to buy my material and hopefully have enough to make enough to build up inventory to last me through Christmas. And I'll probably do a pre-sale on the next tool coming out just because it's brand new and I don't know how much demand will be. But after that, we'll just stock stuff up before we sell it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. A little artsy-fartsy, but I did try to show you educational elements of how I did stuff. And if you want to see the reasons why, I got a lot more videos out there on the playlist in the wood turning for beginners that you can watch. Y'all be safe, have fun, and remember, it's always worth the effort to learn, create stuff, and share it with others. Check out the website if you're interested in buying one for yourself.